Okay, we're finding a place to sit today. It is sunny, so we're waiting for friends and watching our notes go all over the place. Waiting for our sirens to go off. So there are sirens, and that must mean it's time for Live from the Farm. You can see it's sunny today because I'm wearing sunglasses for the first time. I usually wear sunglasses, but I've been not wearing sunglasses so people can see my eyes. But today I'm gonna wear sunglasses because it's really sunny. So someone's here. More people will be here soon, so we're gonna just wait a minute before we get started and let that second tornado siren do its test run. Usually it comes back a second time. Let's see. Maybe it won't today. I guess not. So, hi, Live from the Farm. Today, you can see the weather is sunny, but it's also cold. Here comes that second siren. It did surprise me, Cora, you're right. So we're waiting for our second tornado siren and for more friends to join us, which we can see is happening now. Hello, Audrey from Asheville, North Carolina. So happy to have you here. All right, so the tornado sirens are ending, which means it's time for us to get started. So we're gonna start Live from the Farm today the same way we've been starting it every week, which is to first say thank you all for being here with us. And it's making the quarantine a lot more bearable, prepping for these sessions and knowing that we're connecting with people where you are and wishing you were here. But in the meantime, while you can't be, we're really happy to have you this way. So, and if you're watching this later, after the virus is over, we hope you'll come and visit us or visit a local farm in your own area and see what's up with them. So we're gonna start, Cora's here with me today too. She's gonna record the temperature for us in our notebook. So I'm gonna flip this open and we'll see we've got our garden notebook. And we're gonna go to our chart that we've been charting the date and the weather, and Cora already wrote in that it's sunny today, and she's gonna go over and check our thermometer real quick on the gate. Our Wi-Fi is set up in a different place today, and I can't get over there and have a good connection. So she's gonna check the thermometer for us, and you'll have to take her word for it. It was this morning when I checked, when I first woke up, it was 23 degrees. On the thermometer in the backyard, and that is really, really cold for this time of year. So Cora, what did you find?
50 degrees.
50 degrees, okay, so she's gonna make her mark at 50 degrees for today. And you can see we're starting to connect the dots, so we're gonna be able to see the temperature from week to week as we're doing this. Okay, go ahead and mark it. All right, so today we're talking about everybody's favorite thing when they come to visit us at the farm, which is, yes, our chickens, who are actually hiding right now for some mysterious reason. But hopefully by the time we're ready to bring them out and introduce you to them, they will be ready to come and meet you. But something must have freaked them out because they are hiding in their coop, which is unusual for them at this time of day on a sunny day. So Cora will show you really quick. You can hear them. I did lock them in the middle of the day, and they're not used to that. So we're going to introduce you to them some more in a minute and tell you about the place where they live. But first, I just want to say that we're really glad to have you, people who are coming in late. I see a lot of familiar faces, and we're so glad to have you. So again, when people come to the farm, whether they're young or old, one of their favorite things is to meet our chickens. And if you're watching this from somewhere in the country, it may be that lots of your neighbors have chickens. And it used to be in this country that people in the city hens, but that stopped when we started to rely on grocery stores more for our food. So instead of growing our own food and raising our own animals, we started shopping at the store more. And so fewer and fewer people had chickens at their house, unless they lived in the country, like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. But there is a backyard chicken revival happening, so probably some of you who are watching, I already know, live in the city or the suburbs and have chickens. And some of you might be thinking about having chickens. Some of you might be wishing you had chickens. So for a long time, I wished that I had chickens. And I was already a grown-up by this time, so I didn't have to ask my mom and dad if I could get pets. But I did have to ask my roommate, my husband. And at the time that I got really serious about chickens, I also got pregnant with Cora, whom you know is now a very big chicken. But that's not true. She's really brave. So, but we'll talk in a minute about why do people call people chicken when they're scared. Anyway, when I wanted to get chickens, I had to get some help building this beautiful coop that they live in, and I had to get some support. Just like if you want a pet, you have to get support and ask for help. So Cora's been asking me for a dog for a long time, and she has been promising me over and over. What have you been promising me?
That I will walk it.
How often?
Every day.
Every day. How often do you go for a walk?
I don't chart it.
Don't chart it. Well, it's not every day unless like we're going to school. On those days we usually walk, although at Cora's new school she won't be able to walk.
I have been doing decks of cards with you, which is
not related to this at all.
No.
But you have been walking a lot more, and that's really important. And a lot of people have been walking more. And so it wouldn't be such a bad time to get a pet dog, but a pet dog is for a long time. It's a really long commitment. So most parents, when kids say, oh, that dog's so cute, please can I have a dog? Most parents say, you know, I don't think you're ready for it because it's a big responsibility. And I remember growing up, my brother wanted a dog so badly, and my parents were like, we both have jobs, we have 3 children, we don't have time to walk a dog, and we really don't think he's going to. So he had every other pet you could possibly imagine. He had hamsters, he had fish, he had gerbils, he had snakes, he had birds, he had frogs. I don't think he had rabbits or anything like that, but he did not have a crocodile, no. He did not have a cat because everyone in our house is very allergic. But anyway, chickens are, people don't always think about chickens as pets, but they are happen to be amazing, great friends to have around. They are a lot of fun. They keep you going outside all year long so that you can visit with them and take care of them. And they also are known as pets with benefits. So when you take care of chickens, chickens help take care of you. So they give us eggs. They eat bugs out of the yard. Sometimes even bugs like what am I trying to think of? Ticks. They don't eat cucumber beetles, unfortunately, but they do eat ticks, which can bite us and hurt us, and they'll eat mosquito larvae if they find it floating in the water someplace. So they're really great pets to have around, and they're really fun to watch. So we're going to try to get them out and introduce you to them. So this is where they live. So this is our backyard, which is kind of ripped apart because we let the chickens out a lot, and they like to chew on everything and dig and peck, as you're going to see. So the place where they live, the chicken house, has 3 parts. This big part in here is called the run, and the chickens get to run around in it. And
one of our chickens is butted out of there, and so now she has to sleep out here. And her name is ironically Luna.
Why is that ironic?
Because she sleeps outside of the next.
What does Luna mean?
Moon.
So she sleeps close to the moon? Yeah. So they have some things to jump and climb on in here. It's not very well focused. And you can see that everything is meshed in because their whole house has this crazy security system to make sure that animals who might want to eat them, predators, don't come in. So I just unlocked this lock, and we always keep them locked in at night to make sure that... What are some predators we have around here, Cora? Rats. I don't know if the rats would eat the chickens, but they would definitely like to come in and eat the chickens' food or their eggs. They would definitely bother them. But you can see that the top of their coop is covered in this wire, and everywhere it's locked down really well so that the predators can't get in. Squirrels are also not predators, but the fox in the neighborhood is. So you can also see, I've told you guys before that we have thermometers all over the farm. So this is a thermometer that we keep in the chicken coop so we can see what the temperature is in there when they're sleeping at night. And make sure that it's warm enough for them. So all the chickens that we got are chickens come in different breeds, like dogs. And you can hear them, they're saying, "What are you doing? Why are we locked in here in the middle of the day? And why are you coming in here and talking to us?" They have lots of different sounds that they make. We're gonna see if we can get them to come outside. But this part of the house is called the coop. And if you might have been feeling like you're cooped up lately, like if you've heard that expression lately, I feel cooped up. I'm like a chicken in a coop, locked up in a coop. You can see this one, Maxime, is going into the last part of their house, which is called the nesting box. So the nesting boxes we can access from this little doorway, and some of you who are watching have stood up on these steps and come in to check the nesting boxes. And the nesting boxes are where the chickens lay their eggs. And I think Cora took the eggs away, which is kind of disappointing because it would have been nice for you to see them. And she went to put them in the house. And yes, Christy, read. A raccoon is definitely a predator. And just a few mornings ago, so talking about the different sounds that chickens make, right now they're making just a sound like, what is going on? What's going on? But the other morning, I was having coffee in the kitchen, which is just inside those windows, and I heard them squawking and squawking and squawking, and I said, "What's going on?" And I looked out, and I saw a raccoon running away from the coop, across the yard this way. And it came back, and they scared it away again. They were squawking, squawking, squawking. They were inside, still locked up in the morning. Chick, 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 come on, girls, you want to come on out and get some treats? Come on. Chick, 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 chick. People want to meet you. So we have 6 different breeds. We'll start introducing you to them here since they're not coming out right now. So the white one is Luna that Cora was telling you about. And Luna actually, I don't think Luna got kicked out. I think Luna chooses to sleep outside. She sleeps outside in the fall until it's really, really cold and we're worried about her. And she's been sleeping outside in the spring, even on these cold nights when we're worried about her. So this black one is called Madame Maxime, and she is, her breed is called a Jersey Giant, and a black Jersey Giant. And black Jersey Giants are an old breed that is actually on a conservation list. So when you raise some of these different types of birds, you're helping to preserve their genetic heritage. This is another one. This chicken's name is Tonks, and Tonks is a Dominique. And Dominiques were the first chickens that were in the United States, or which at the time the British colonies. And people believe that they actually came up from South America, where they were brought by the Polynesians. Cora's holding another one of our chickens. Her name is Professor McGonagall. And Professor McGonagall is a really, really pretty hen. She is a golden laced Wyandotte, so you can see that her feathers have this scalloped pattern on them. Can we open one of her wings maybe to see? She doesn't like that. Everybody's coming out to play now.
Come on, open up your wings.
So if you're a big Harry Potter fan, you might have started to pick up on the theme of our chickens' names, and so they're all Harry Potter characters. This is Hermione Granger. She's a brunette. like Hermione, and you can see she has a big tall comb on her head. And I have a diagram I'm going to show you in a minute so you can see these different types of combs. So this is the comb up here on the top. It's like a crown, and Hermione's got a really tall one. Whereas Tonks, you can see hers is a little bit more pointy, and she has what's called a rose comb, I believe.
Oh, that's
I have to
cool.
check my chart. Let's go over here and we'll check our chart in this book that I brought out. And then we'll get back to looking at them and see if we can see the different types of combs. Where did I put that? Here it is. Okay, so we have a single comb. That looks like Hermione's big crown. A rose comb, like Tonks. And a pea comb, like Professor McGonagall. I think the pea combs are actually a little bit, they're not very majestic.
Wait, what kind of comb does Madame Maxime have?
Madame Maxime, chick, 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 chick. Come here, Madame Maxime. I actually, hers is, they are going to be poking me. They want treats, huh? So you can see that they're really well trained. When we call them, they actually come, because just like a dog, they can be trained in the tradition of Pavlov and his dogs, that he learned, if I ask this pet to do something and then I give them a treat, when they do it, they'll do it again. Hey, Madame Maxime, you want to get down? I'm not holding you in a very good way. Okay, let's look at our chart one more time and see if we can answer Cora's question. This is a different chart. Here you can see we don't have any kinds of chickens like this. If you've ever seen a silky, it has a fancy haircut like that. Here's the rose comb again, like Tonks. And here's the single comb. Here's one called a cushion comb, and I don't think we have any like that. It's kind of flat on the top. And the pea comb. So I'm going to guess that Madame Maxime also has a single comb of some kind. Oops, I meant to be doing this. So the chickens are great pets to have around because they lay eggs. They're great pets to have around because they eat bugs. And they're great pets to have around because, just like the worms we met last week, these chickens are great recyclers. So Cora's going to give them some yogurt that her grandma gave us that was just a little bit old in her refrigerator, and I guess she didn't want to eat it. But watching chickens eat yogurt is a lot of fun because you can see they get it all over their beaks. Cora, can you put it down?
It's kind of smelly.
So they can eat things that maybe don't taste so great to us anymore, but you see how it's all over Hermione and she's spreading it everywhere. So I got that yogurt out because I think watching chickens eat yogurt and things like that is really fun. Another thing that they like to eat is old cereal. So I don't know if they're going to want to eat any of it because they're so, oh yeah, they do.
You have to kind of crush it so it's easier for them to eat.
Okay, Cora's going to crush it so it's a little easier for them to eat. We're standing in the shadow.
One of our chickens ate a baby rat whole. So.
Yeah, they are very good hunters. So that's another, like you said, Cora, that's another benefit of the chickens is that they will hunt for rodents in the yard. So one time we opened up the run and we saw a dead mouse in the run, well, a couple of times. And the time Cora's talking about, one was running all around the yard with a little baby it had just killed.
And then it just swallowed it whole in front of Mom.
It did. It swallowed it whole in front of me. Sometimes life on the farm can be cruel. We talked about that last week too, I think, about the robins eating the worms. So I don't have a clock with me today, so I'm not exactly sure what time it is, but I do have one story to share. But if somebody can tell me what time it is in the chat, that would be so awesome. I'm just going to go ahead and get ready reading it. So the story I wanted to share today is a story that you guys are probably really familiar with. And I had to think about it a little bit more before I read it today so that I could think about how to present it to you all. And the story is The Little Red Hen. And I was talking to my sister, Rebecca, and I was saying, why is the little red hen a hen? Couldn't she be some other animal? because the Little Red Hen just seemed like the most obvious story that I could read to you, and that had to do with chickens, and one that I had around. So I decided that I would read that to you today. But I was trying to figure out, why is this story about a chicken? And she said, come on, Jodi, it's because chickens are peck around in the ground. And these chickens are so excited about these treats that we give them. Let's not give them anything else so we can see if they'll peck around. Okay, there we go. Watch Madame Maxime. She just scratched the ground and then she walked backwards so that she could put her nose down where she was scratching. So there, Professor McGonagall's doing it, and Ginny. So they scratch at the ground and then they walk backwards so they can peck where they were scratching. So I don't know if you can see it. So the Little Red Hen is basically based on that activity that the chickens do. So I actually have this on my computer today, which is unusual for me to be reading a book from the computer, but I have a reason, and the reason is that when I was wondering about this story, I decided to do some research about it, and I found out that the Little Red Hen was a story that came originally from England through the colonists to this country, and it was first published in a children's magazine that came out of New York. I'm trying to get this so that I can see the picture without sunlight and a bad reflection. I might have to just go inside. Anyway, so this story was first published in a magazine. Cora, would you open the door for me so I can just sit inside and not deal with the sun glare, since if I'm going to be showing you my computer, it doesn't really matter. Sorry about this. First big technology snafu. Okay, so, wow, my computer screen is, there we go. Okay. So it was first published in the 1880s in a children's magazine, and then this was one of the first printed publications of the book, and it was printed in 1918. And there's this amazing website called Gutenberg.org, and you can hear the sink right now in the background because Cora is washing her hands, which is a really important thing to do anytime you're around chickens. And of course, this is a great reminder that we should all be washing our hands really well to fight the coronavirus. So anyway, this version of the story was written in 1918, and it has some cool illustrations. And for the parents who are watching, and especially all the mamas, I think you're going to really appreciate some of the way the story is told. So these are some imprints from the inside of that book. And it says here, it's an old English folk tale, told and retold. So here's that Little Red Hen. The Little Red Hen lived in a barnyard. She spent almost all of her time walking about the barnyard in her pickety-peckety fashion, scratching everywhere for worms. She dearly loved fat, delicious worms and felt they were absolutely necessary to the health of her children. As often as she found a worm, she would call, cluck, 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 to her chickies. And when they were all gathered about her, she would distribute morsels of her tidbit. A busybody she was. Whoops, sorry. Not at all like this cat, who was always sleeping lazily at the barn door, not even bothering to scare the rat, who ran here and there as he pleased. So she is not doing her job as a barn cat. Here this cat is walking around wearing a top hat. Sorry, the rat is walking around wearing a top hat and tails, like a tuxedo and a bow tie. He's walking around as he pleased. And as for the pig who lived in the sty, he did not care what happened so long as he could eat and grow fat. One day, the Little Red Hen found a seed. It was a wheat seed, but the Little Red Hen was so accustomed to bugs and worms that she supposed this to be some new and perhaps very delicious kind of meat. She bit it gently and found that it resembled a worm in no way whatsoever. As to the taste, whatsoever as to taste, although, because it was long and slender, the little red hen might easily be fooled by the appearance. So she's thinking maybe it's a worm. And look, she's all dressed up too. Carrying it about, she made inquiries as to what it might be. She asked all her friends, and she found out that it was a wheat seed, and that if planted it would grow, and when ripe it could be made into flour and then into bread. When she discovered that, she knew it ought to be planted. She was so busy hunting for food herself and for herself and her family that naturally she thought she ought not to take time to plant it. So she thought of the pig, upon whom time must hang heavily, and of the cat who had nothing to do, and of the great fat rat and his idle hours, and she called loudly, "Who will plant the seed?" But the pig said, "Not I." And the cat said, "Not I." And the rat said,
Not I.
"Not I." "Well then," said the little red hen, "I will." And she did. It's interesting that parts of the story have not changed. Then she went on with her duties through the long summer days, scratching for worms and feeding her chicks, while the pig grew fat, and the cat grew fat, and the rat grew fat, and the wheat grew tall and ready for harvest. So one day the little red hen, who chanced to notice how large the wheat was and that the grain was ripe, so she ran about calling briskly, "Who will cut the wheat?" The pig said, "Not I." The cat said, "Not I." The rat said, "Not I." "Well then," said the little red hen, "I will." And she did. So she got the sickle from among the farmer's tools in the barn and proceeded to cut off all of the big plant of wheat. On the ground lay nicely cut, ready to be gathered and threshed. But the newest and yellowest and downiest of Mrs. Hen's chicks set up to peeping with their most vigorous fashion, and proclaimed to all the world, but most particularly to their mother, that she was neglecting them. Little chicks always want their mama's attention, even when she's working for them. Poor little red hen, she felt quite bewildered and hardly knew where to turn. Her attention was sorely divided between her duty to her children and her duty to the wheat, for which she felt responsible. So again, in a very hopeful tone, she called out, "Who will thresh the wheat?" But the pig said, "Not I," with a grunt, and the cat meowed, "Not I," and the rat, with a squeak, said, "Not I." So the little red hen, looking, it must be admitted, rather discouraged, said, "Well then, I will." And she did. Of course, she had to feed her babies first, though, and when she had gotten them all to sleep for their afternoon nap, she went out and threshed the wheat. Then she called out, "Who will carry the wheat to the mill to be ground?" Then, turning their backs with snippy glee, the pig said, "Not I." And the cat said, "Not I." And the rat said, "Not I." And it looks like they went on to have a dance party. And the cat and the rat, "Not I, not I." So the good little red hen could do nothing but say, "I will then." And she did. Carrying the sack of wheat, she trudged off to the distant mill. She ordered the wheat ground into beautiful white flour, and when the miller brought her the flour, she walked slowly back all the way to her own barnyard in her own pickety-peckety fashion. So her pickety-peckety fashion meant that along the way she came across some worms. She ate some, and she took a few home to her kids, who, when she reached them, were so glad to see their mother. And for the first time, they really appreciated her. She was very, very tired, so she retired to her slumbers earlier than usual. Indeed, before the colors came into the sky to herald the setting of the sun, her usual bedtime hour. And that's true, our chickens put themselves to sleep when it gets to be dark. She would have liked to sleep in the morning, but her chicks joined in the morning chorus of the hen yard and drove away all hopes of such luxury. Even as she sleepily half opened one eye, the thought came to her that day that the wheat must somehow be made into bread. She was not in the habit of making bread, although, of course, anyone can make it if he or she follows the recipe with care. And she knew perfectly well that she could do it if necessary. So after her children were fed and made sweet and fresh for the day, she hunted up the pig and the cat and the rat. Still confident that they would surely help, she sang out, "Who will make the bread?" And the pig said, "Not I." Alas, for the little red hen, once more her hopes were dashed, as the rat said, "Not I." And the cat said, "Not I." So the little red hen once more said, "I will." And she did. Feeling that she might have known all the time that she would have to do it herself, she went and put on a fresh apron and a spotless cook's hat. First of all, she set the dough, as was proper. When it was time, she brought out the molding board and the baking tins, molding the bread and dividing it into loaves and put them in the oven to bake. And all the while, the cat sat lazily by, giggling and chuckling.
There's that.
And close at hand was the vain rat. The vain rat powdered his nose and admired himself in the mirror. In the distance could be heard the long drawn snores of the dozing pig. At last a great moment arrived. A delicious odor was wafted upon the autumn breeze. The pig looked up from his trough. Everywhere the barnyard citizens sniffed the air with delight. The little red hen ambled in her pickety-peckety way toward the source of all of this excitement. Although she appeared to be perfectly calm, in reality, she could only with difficulty restrain an impulse to sing and dance, for had she not done all the work on this wonderful bread? She was so proud of it, growing the wheat, threshing the wheat. Small wonder that she was the most excited person in the barnyard. She did not know whether the bread would be fit to eat, but joy of joys when the lovely brown loaves came out of the oven. They were done to perfection. Then, probably because she had acquired the habit, the little red hen called, "Ha ha! Who will eat this bread?" And all the animals in the barnyard were watching hungrily and smacking their lips in anticipation. And the pig said, "I will." And the cat said, "I will." And the rat said, "I will." But the little red hen said, "No, you won't. I will." And she did.
Well, it's their fault because they didn't help at all.
They didn't help at all. It's true. And this story was originally written and publicized in America to try to teach kids to have a work ethic. So it's a fable with a moral, which is be persistent and keep at your task.
Like the fable of the Washington cutting down the cherry tree, which was a lie made up to teach kids to tell the truth. It makes no sense.
Right. That's another fable that we could talk about, the George Washington, the cherry tree. We've been learning about that. But we're going to get ready to say goodbye to our friends. So we're going to focus on just wrapping things up and saying thank you so much for coming and joining us again today. And we're going to be back next week to talk about bees. And we're going to have a special guest on the farm. She's going to stay at a social distance, but our friend Joni Calum is going to be here to sing a song with us about bees, written by her friend Nancy, and she's going to tell us all about it. Please come back and be with us next week. And Amy's asking if these are recorded, and they have been recorded. They'll be available like immediately on the Facebook page. And then also I'm uploading them to a YouTube channel because I got some requests from around the country from teachers and other parents that wanted to see these who may not want to be on Facebook for understandable reasons. But we are so glad that we could be here with you today, and we're happy for you to share share with us this time and these lessons about chickens. So hopefully you were inspired. Feel free to make a donation to support education on the farm by clicking Shop Now on our homepage. And we'll talk to you all soon. Bye.